Hello, my name is Darcy. I am Darcy from darcydoesit.com, and I'm a knitwear designer, knitter, tinkerer, sewist, maker, and this is where I show y'all when I actually film podcasts what I've been doing, and I've been up to a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna give y'all the breakdown, the nitty gritty. So let's get right into it. So I'm editing the podcast, and the sound in this one is definitely less than perfect, but my effort to try to improve the quality of the podcast with the external mic, I have gotten the mic a little bit too close, and I didn't realize until after it was already done and dusted. So I'm going to try to clean it up in the post-production, but please give me some grace. I am working to improve everything with the podcast, and sometimes that comes with a few hiccups. If you've ever tried to do anything in your life, then you too can sympathize with the fact that you don't always get it perfect on the first try. So thank you for sticking with me, and it's only up from here, y'all. Today is Labor Day. That's September 5th. Is today the 5th? 4th. The 4th. 2023, and in America, Labor Day is a day that we get the day off as a federal holiday because of all. So we are celebrating the achievements of the American labor movement, and we do that by having the day off. And I just want to say I appreciate all of the people. I did learn a bit in school about, the union, the rise of unions and how corporations were always trying to, break them up and basically split people apart. And, in America, with the history of enslaving Black Americans, there has always been like a big rift in unions to try to split apart Black and white workers who had any type of solidarity, also Black and white farmers that had any type of solidarity. Anyway, today's Labor Day, and I'm going to recognize the contributions of all the people who came before me that have contributed to the 5-day work week and to it not being illegal to be in a union. That actually was illegal at one point in the United States. So yeah, we still got a ways to go on the labor laws. But we have come from a mighty long way. So yeah, shout out to all the labor people who have fought to make things better for working people in the United States. We're a union household. Artie's in a union. I am wherever there was a union available when I was working or when I am working. Right now, my job doesn't have a union because I'm a contract employee for a therapy. I guess they're a therapy provider, but they're also like a special education school. So yeah, there's no union. There's not that many employees. They do treat me really well. And I think that's possibly because of some of the things that have happened in the labor, struggle before my time. So yeah, that's what I've been doing today. Earlier today, I braided my cousin's hair so she could do her crochet on top of it. And it rained really terribly earlier, just like all of a sudden downpour. And now it's a little bit sunnier. And I'm planning to go outside and do a little workout with Artie after filming this podcast. So I'm going to start with the finished objects. I actually had to look through my last podcast to see what stuff I was talking about because so much stuff has happened. I definitely took like a hiatus for the summer, but now that the school year is, like in full swing again, I'm ready to get back at it. And my goal, like my inside goal, I guess it's an outside goal now that I'm about to say it, but is to film a podcast like at least once per manicure, right? So right now I've got this blue situation going on. And I really feel like that's a good amount of time for me to make progress on some projects before I show it again. It's been, bless me knitters, it's been like 3 months since my last podcast. And I've really made a lot of progress. So let me start with the finished objects. And I'll start with this. This is the Flying Bird Shawl. And this is a project that is super, super long. I'm actually going to stand up and just hold it up behind my chair so that you can see how long it is. But this is a symmetrical bird-shaped shawl that was designed by Whitney Marie Anderson, and it's all garter stitch, and it's perfect for very busy yarns like this one. I actually showed this in my last podcast. I had not even wound the yarn up yet, but this is a 2-skein single ply yarn from Sister Ananse Yarns by Naima Bond. And this yarn, it was so nice to work with. I will say the single, it didn't split. I was a little bit concerned about it splitting, but it didn't do that. It did get a little fuzzier, but that's just when you wear something and you use it and you love it. It sometimes just looks like it's been a little bit loved. And I think with the single, that happens a little bit easier. But the 2 skeins of yarn were perfect for this project. It's written as a single skein project, but you can basically shorten it or elongate it however you want. So it's really customizable, and it just makes like such an easy to wear kind of thing. I'm not going to put this on because it's a little bit warm in my apartment right now. But I just love how this came out. And this is my second one. The first one I knit in Passion Knits yarn, and I showed that in my last podcast. But this really flew off the needles. As you can tell, in my last 3 months, I finished this pretty quick. So I'm going to put that over there. And I also showed, it was in progress for my last podcast episode, but this is the Outline Raglan by Jessie May. And I did sew a label into this that says, "Wear the shit out of me." And I hope that, I hope I do. So this is a pattern by Jessie May, and the yarn is a cotton linen blend. And the only modifications that I made to the pattern are adding a I-cord, applied I-cord around the neck edge, just because it seems a little bit like, you know, loosey-goosey without the I-cord. And this is my second one that I've knit. The first one that I knit is on like a long-term loan to Ein from Passion Knits. That was the yarn I used before. This is a Trailheads yarn, and I actually saw a post on Instagram that Trailhead Yarns is gonna stop dyeing like yarn for knitting or yarn in general, and they're gonna transition to be more embroidery stuff. So the base on this is called Fundy Tides, and the color is called Wild Horses. And this color is just like electric, like chartreuse, and it has some just specks of orange that look really nice with the chartreuse background. So this is like full length on me. I'm not going to put it on because it's, you know, a little hot, but I will include a picture of me wearing it or a little video. I have to edit it in after.
My outline raglan is just finished blocking, and I'm about to try it on. I haven't even tried it on yet. It's perfect. I mean, absolute perfection.
I'm probably going to keep making more of these because I just love this detail along the sides here, how it unravels when you loose that one drop stitch down the sides. So yeah, this took maybe about 1.5 balls of that yarn, and it wasn't insanely long yardage on that because I think it was like 600 yards per skein. So I still have a lot left, and I'm thinking of maybe making something else with it, but I don't know what I could make with that small amount. it didn't hurt my hands at all. And I know people say like cotton and linen usually like will hurt your hands. This is knit in a very open gauge. And I think not having that tension from trying to wrap it with a tight gauge, if it was like more tightly knit, I think prevented that. So I think, and I've never had the experience people talk about with cotton where it's so hard on their hands and they just can't bear to finish a project in cotton. That hasn't happened to me. Maybe because I'm in general a more loose knitter, and projects on my needles, like you can move it kind of freely on the needle and it's not going to be a struggle to move it. So I think if you have a tighter gauge anyway, maybe that might be the struggle with the cotton linen situation. But I do have some yarn that's 100% linen and it's like straw almost, but I haven't done anything with it yet. We'll see what happens to it. I didn't even talk about what I have on. Let me tell you. So this is another Jessie May project called the Ripple Halter. And I made this in collaboration with my bestie Ijama, who was also making one last year when she came to St. Louis. And when she came this year to visit, we both wore them. And this one actually had a hole in it. And I did a tutorial on Instagram of how I closed that hole up. And now it's a lot more wearable because it doesn't have that hole in it. It was like a hole over on the side and the back. But I had a problem wearing it previously because I had a strapless bra that I would wear with it that I thought was really great. And then I started getting all these ads for these nipple covers. And I previously, I had tried out some of those like chicken cutlets, like the sticky ones that just stick on. I had tried those and I'm not crazy about adhesives. And I also am kind of a sweaty person. So anywhere I would be wearing something that is backless, strapless, just more skin showing is probably a place I'm going to be sweating. So I just let the ads, give themselves to me. And from looking at all of them, I decided to go with one of them. And this is not sponsored, but I am actually wearing Cakes. So they're the nipple covers that are grippy, not sticky. And that marketing slogan has just stuck in my mind. But that's really what I was looking for, was something that would grip on, but not be with an adhesive. So I have freed myself to wear this top more and to knit more of these, because now I actually have a solution to my nipple problem. My nipples were never the problem. It was the clothes that was the problem. And I got the OG ones with I think in the lightest color, I think is the one that I got. And that works for my skin tone, but my nipples are extra strength. So they're supposed to be opaque, but they're not completely opaque, I'll say. If you have darker nipples, maybe go for a darker skin tone. But you know what you like. And these are fine for me, even though they're not totally opaque, because I'm not going to probably be wearing them with like white or anything that you could see through anyway. So yeah, just now I feel more free to wear this top all the time and to make a whole bunch of other things like it. It sucks that the summer is over, but I'll still be wearing, things like this for the rest of my life. So I'm just glad that I found them. I did buy these, and I don't have a sponsorship from Cakes, but I do have an affiliate link, and you can use the code Darcy Does It for 10% off if you would like to try them out. I recommend looking at some of their marketing stuff and just seeing if it's something that you're interested in. If you want something that's going to lift, this is not the product for you. They do really stay on well, and I've worn them maybe 4 times already, and I'm really pleased with them. So they make wearing summer knits a lot easier and take away the hassle of trying to find a bra that works for everything. And I'm one of those people, I'd rather not wear a bra than to have a bra that's showing. So this was a perfect upgrade for me. So yeah, I'll put my link in the description. And if you would like 10% off, use my code DarcyDoesIt and you can try out some cakes. All right, anyway, back to the knitting. So something else that I had not even started the last time that I did a podcast episode was my, this is the Maya top. I was about to say, Gabby, what the hell is the name of this pattern? It is called the Maya top. And this is a top that is named after Maya Angelou and the designer, Gabriella, who from Hello Gabriella, she has designed this top to be like a very open work lace on top and then stockinette stitch. So I just love this pattern. And once I bought the pattern and I opened it up, I loved it even more because I saw that she was donating she had dedicated the pattern to the Equal Justice Initiative. And the Equal Justice Initiative is a cause I feel really passionately about. If you haven't seen the movie, if you're a movie person, Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan, that was a movie where the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative, it was basically his story and the story of a man who was wrongfully imprisoned, and he essentially never got a fair trial. And that's what the Equal Justice Initiative is about, is helping people who are innocent but have been profiled or racially discriminated against to get their cases heard and try to get them some relief in the justice system. So the Equal Justice Initiative releases every year a calendar, and I bought it for the last few years, but they do a calendar of racial injustice, and every day they just give like a one sentence blurb about an event in American history where there was some injustice. And it's kind of a downer because you're like, damn, every day? But like, that's the reality. So you can either choose to accept that reality and know it and learn about it so that you can see the signs to try to prevent that from going on, or you can just, try to put your blinders on. I'm not a blinders type of person. So I really admire the work of the Equal Justice Initiative. And the Black knitter, Liz, who actually has a knitting podcast on YouTube, she did for Juneteenth a make-along where she encouraged people to make patterns by Black designers, knit and crochet, and to use, notions, project bags, stuff like that to help increase the visibility of Black makers. And I love that so much. And I knew that I wanted to be a part of the make along, but I also added another layer to it by doing a fundraiser on Instagram for the Equal Justice Initiative. So I think I was able to raise like $700 something for the Equal Justice Initiative. Really, I set a $500 goal, and I was like, this is ambitious for me because I've never really tried to fundraise before. But yeah, I was really surprised and shocked pleasantly that, at people's generosity. So yeah, I think I'm going to be doing more fundraisers and more causes. I really think that's in the future for me, but let me not overcommit myself because that's something I am trying to work my way out of, is overcommitting. So anywho, this project was what I knit for that make along for the Juneteenth make along. And I knit this in Wild Star fibers. It's Ladies Night colorway, and it's a beautiful orange, and it has a lot of depth to it, with just it going from very pale orange to darker orange. And I don't know how well this is coming up on camera because I have my back facing camera to me, so I can't see myself. So I'll probably have to go back through and add some, views of what I'm knitting if it doesn't come up well. But, you live and you learn. I'm just out here trying to do my best. So if it's not absolutely perfect, you'll have to deal. That's what I have to tell the kids sometimes at school. Not everything is perfect, but usually you can still make it. So this is my I have one more finished object to show. And then I have some whips. So this is my latest finished project. And this is the Cuddle Puddle Cowl. If you are if you've been following me for a little bit and you are subscribed, you probably have seen my other videos where I talk about my other designs, but this is a new design that's coming, and I thought that I would be working on it a lot more over the summer. It turns out I did not, and I relaxed and had the time of my life over the summer. So it's going to be coming this fall, and I actually knit this with a sister Ananse yarn called Electric Pulse, and it's a similar design element to the Cuddle Puddle wrap, which was my first pattern. And it uses that same stitch, but this time in a cowl instead of a triangle shaped shawl. So it's actually reversible, and you can turn it from the reverse stockinette side to the stockinette side. And it has beautiful waves that are multicolored, and they all just stack up so nicely on top of each other. So this is a pattern that's coming soon. And if you would like to see this pattern, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this video, because subscribing to my channel helps other people to find me, helps other people to find my patterns. If you have purchased a pattern of mine, I really appreciate you. I really didn't think there could be so much fulfillment in seeing other people knitting things that I designed, but I'm really surprised by just how many people really want to make my designs and are inspired and really like what I've done with my design. So this is a new one that's coming. Keep your eyes peeled for it. I will definitely update you on YouTube and on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram at Darcy Does It, you should follow me there and keep up with what I'm doing. I post more regular updates on there, but I've even been quiet on Instagram because I have had a lot of guests visiting me in St. Louis over the past 2 months. So entertaining is hard work because I try to get people to have a good time and to see like the best things that St. Louis has to offer. So yeah, that's everything that I have finished. Actually, that's a lie. I have one more thing that I finished, but it's not knitting. So my last episode, I showed the my Swift, and I talked about my plans to stain it, but I have stained it, and there is a video available. I'm gonna try and see if I can link that like somewhere in the corner, and that video shows you like the whole process of what I did to stain it. But I made a little case for my Swift. After I stained it, I was like, well, I can't have this beautiful Swift and not really have a nice place to put it. So I just sewed up this very rustic case for it. And it's not perfect, but it has a little ribbon on top to keep it closed. The seams are not finished inside, but it's finished in my heart. And I really love this little case for it. So I've been storing it in here, and it makes it a lot easier to take it out. Now that all of the pieces are just like right here on the outside, I can pull them out. And it's much more inspiring than a paper Amazon bag, which is what I was storing it in previously. So I'm really happy with the way it came out. I didn't use a pattern for it. It's just rectangles that have been folded and sewn on top of each other. So anyone with any basic sewing skills could make this, and you just need a little ribbon. I think this took about half a yard of fabric. I bought this fabric at a store in Columbus, Ohio. That was like a kind of hybrid quilting, knitting store. And this was a remnant, but I thought it was so cute with the little flamingos on there. And it has colors that are similar to the color in my Swift. So I thought that was perfect. So I've been doing a little sewing And oh, I should show you guys the top that I made sewing. Oof. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get that because that also is a finished object that counts. This is it. Isn't that so cute? So this is a, oh, I hope I'm not giving y'all like mass static with the mic. This is my top that I finished, and it is a, I'll have to include on the screen what the pattern number is. It's a Butterick pattern, and I had made this before, but I made it in a fabric that was too heavy, and I never wore it, and I actually gave it away. And I said, you know, over the summer, I want to get back into sewing, and I decided to make this, and this was what I was going to wear on my first day of school. I did not wear this on my first day at school. I'm a speech therapist, and when school came back, I was just like wanting to wear something comfortable. So I am going to wear this. I actually need to find the perfect pants. I think just black pants would be good, but it has a little gathering across the back, and it's just a really cute top, like summer top. So I want to make another one, but instead of the sleeve being like short, I want to do a long bell sleeve. Wouldn't that be cute? Yeah. So I'm really into sewing because I had my machine out and I was doing sewing camp with my younger cousin. Let's just say a lot of the patience that I had as a child for sewing, I think was grown or was cultivated. That's the word I'm looking for. It was cultivated from watching my grandmother sew. And I knew as a kid, sewing is not like a lickety split, you know, we're just done kind of thing. Like we start and we're done. No. Like we go to the fabric store, got to pick out the pattern, got to pick out the fabric, got to make sure you got enough fabric, got to make sure you got all the notions. You have to make sure everything's cut properly, that you don't, you know, waste your fabric when you're laying out the pieces. There's so much that goes into sewing, especially like a commercial pattern. And I've never taught someone to sew. And there was a lot of questions I should have asked beforehand to really find out like if we're really ready to sew. So yeah, bless her heart, she just did not have the fortitude to really make it through a project from beginning to end without just becoming frustrated and exasperated. And, you know, I was trying to explain to her that that's part of sewing too. Like, you know, sometimes you sit at the sewing machine and cry because you made a mistake that you can't take back. And that didn't happen to her, but she just wasn't ready. And that's the important part of crafting as well. You have to be ready and you have to have the intrinsic motivation to want to persevere. And at the end of it, she had her dress, you know, that we made together, and she loves the dress, but she doesn't love sewing. So I think maybe after a while of wearing the dress and having some time to really assimilate the process and it not be so acute, maybe she'll be ready to sew again one day. So who knows? But I had spent a lot of time watching as a child, and she didn't have that experience growing up because her mother doesn't sew, or her grandmother doesn't really sew. So yeah, I'm glad I could help her like kind of open her eyes and get a look at what the road is. But she says she's not going to need to sew anything for a long time. So yeah, that's the update on sewing camp. So sewing camp is closed, and I need to ask a lot more questions ahead of time before I accept any other campers. So that was the last finished object for, like, that was the sewing. And I have been spinning. In my last podcast, I showed this yarn as a bat, and it was a gray lofty bat, and I had spun this on my spinning wheel. No, sorry, I spun this on my drop spindle, and I just loved this spin. I plied it on my wheel, and it's really soft. It has just like the smallest amount of pink in it, like just a little pop of pink. And I actually chain plied this. And I'm going to try and get a little bit closer up so you can see it. I chain plied this, and it came out, I think, perfect, pretty much. Like I said, I wish I could see. I got to turn the camera around next time just so I can know what's going on. And this is another spin that was a bat that I got from Fresh Lotus Designs. And this was kind of a wild bat. It just had like the kitchen sink in it. So I love this bat, and I'm glad that I spun it, but it has just a little too much sparkle in it for me to want to knit with it, but it was exhilarating to spin. So I know that I have someone in my life I can gift this yarn to that will love it, but it was an excellent experience spinning it, but I don't want to wear anything with this amount of sparkle personally. So these are the two spins that I've been working on, and I don't have any other spinning projects that I've really been like hitting hard, but I have a new fiber on my drop spindle, and I was just spinning this like in the doctor's office while I was waiting to be seen. And this is what it's looking like. It's kind of like a white, turquoisey, peachy color. And this is from, yeah, this is a Goodwill receipt in here. So this is not the right thing. I'm not sure where it's from, but it's in Rologs. But the Rologs are not like exactly like super spun. See this little nap right here? Now, I will say, what is the word for these little tendrils? People will just get a little bit too loose with these, I feel like. Like, this needs to be combed into something. Like, I'm just not a spinner that wants like whole clumps of curls in what I'm spinning. So, different strokes, and this was inside the Rolog, so I didn't actually see what I was getting until I started spinning it. It's okay. But I'm just finding more and more that I have particularities about what I like to spin and then what I like to knit from what I've spun. So that's what I'm spinning right now, very slowly. I need to pick it back up because it's been a minute since I actually spun something. Now let's look at whips. And I'm going to just turn the camera around because I can't take this anymore. I don't know how it's been coming up on camera. So let's see. Okay. That's so much better. I feel like I'm getting kind of washed out. Wow, really? And when I sat down to film this, I was like, oh, the lighting really isn't good today. But it seems like the lighting is actually kind of fine. Let me lower this a little because I'm just looking a little pale. Okay. All right. I think that's better. So I'm just sitting in front of a huge window in my living room, and I have blinds, but I put the blinds up because I was like, oh, it's so dark outside. I need more light. But then maybe I was getting too much light. Anyway, so let's keep going with the podcast. And I still have some whips to show you from the stuff that I've been making. And one of them is like a long lost project that got lost in my cousin's aunt's car. Okay, here's how it goes. My cousin, right? My mother and her father are brother and sister. But then we went thrifting with her mother's sister. So her aunt, who I don't really know like that. But it was great. Great trip, great vibes. Found a lot of good stuff. But I had my knitting in her car, and then I left the bag accidentally in her car. So I don't know where this lady live at. Like, I just had to rely on my cousin to get it back from her aunt. So that was like back in March, I want to say, because I did a video haul about the stuff that I bought on that shopping trip. And this project has been gone for at least that long. So I got it back maybe about a month ago, and I really in earnestly started working on it over this past weekend. So it is the Koi Turtle is the name of this pattern, and I'm knitting it in Seismic Butter Worsted Yarn. So in my last podcast, I was wearing the Koi tee, which is the summer version of this pattern. And both patterns are by Ginkgo B. And this pattern is basically a turtleneck, negative ease, like sexy little sister to the other Koi tee. Now, I finished the body and sleeve separation. I haven't tried it on yet still. So I'm going to record trying it on and just try to make a little content for Instagram. But I am really happy with the yarn so far. This yarn is Seismic. See, and that's the problem with putting the blinds down is I get these lines on the project. Just, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. That's me talking to myself like how I talk to the kids. It's okay if it's not perfect. We'll make it through. So this project has a lot of purpley pink speckles going all throughout on a gray tonal background. And this color is called Yellowstone. I actually had a poll on my Instagram to ask people to vote on what color I should use. And I bought this yarn in February when I was in San Francisco, and I got it from Ava, who's the dyer from Seismic. And we actually got like a behind the scenes tour of where the magic happens in her garage. And let me tell you, this yarn, first of all, Seismic Yarn, she only uses high quality, fine, like super, let me see, not super wash. What is it called? It's called extra fine merino, extra fine. And that means the microns are just lower. So like the microns basically translates to how soft something feels when you touch it, like how thin the fiber shaft is. Basically, the thinner the fiber shaft, the softer it feels when you touch it. So this, as something that's going to be all over my neck and delicattage. Is that the word? I think that is the word, and I've talked about this word before on the podcast. It have to be only the best of the best. So, and I talked before about how I'm entering my luxury yarn era, and for something that's going to just be all over my neck, I really wanted it to be super soft, and that's exactly what I got with this yarn. So I've been alternating every row for the entire sweater so far. And I've just been using that little trick from Wool and Pine. I actually saw it on their Instagram, how to alternate rows. And essentially, it's not helical knitting. It's even easier than that. You literally, when you get back to the beginning of the round, you put the old strand in the front and put the new strand in the back. And then you just knit the whole round till you get back to that point. Then you put the old strand in the front. Yeah, always the old in the front and the new one you're going to work with in the back. And I'll show you the area where mine changes, my beginning of round marker. And I got to show y'all my newest, littlest mamas. So first things first, here is the point that the round changes right here. And I've been changing all along right here. And you cannot tell that I have been changing the yarns. There's no gaps or weird stuff happening. So this is a method I highly recommend. And then I've got my little mama here to mark my beginning of round. And these are charms that I love, and I have so many of them from Whitney Marie Anderson. And Whitney, I have been trying to peer pressure her to make these charms again because she used to make them all the time. And then she started doing some other stuff. I understand you want to, got to keep it fresh, but like the people, you still got to give them what they want. And we, the people, we wanted the little mamas back again. So not only did she make the little mamas again, but there's way more options. There's all kinds of hairstyles. There's little daddies. There is something for everybody because she really has outdone herself with these people. And these are even smaller than the ones that she was doing before. And she sent me an Ijama, like bestie sets of these little charms. So this is Ijama. Look at her little curls. And her hair looks like this. She has locks. So this was a project me and Ijama were working on together. So that's why I felt it was, the right project to put my Ijama stitch marker on. I still got a ways to work on the body. And I had lost some of the yarn for a little bit. For some reason, that happens to me with seismic projects. I'll misplace one of the skeins of yarn. I've recovered the skeins and they're all accounted for now. But there was like a 2 or 3 days that I couldn't find it. And I was panicking because I was getting close to being finished with the skeins that I had. And just for tidiness sake, I decided to wind 2 skeins together, like one after another on my ball winder. And then I'm using one strand from the middle and one strand from the outside. They're technically 2 different skeins of yarn because I put one on top of the other. But now there's less ends to worry about because both ends are attached. And then when they get tangled, then you can just roll it like this and you just push it to, like on the couch, and just push it to untwist. And it just comes apart beautifully. So yeah, Yellowstone by Seismic. That's this project, my long lost project that not because it, did something to upset me, but just that was how the cookie crumbled. But it's been recovered, and this will probably be my first like fall finish project. So you'll see me wearing this pretty soon. And I only have one more project left to show you that I've been working on, and it's kind of messy. So I'm gonna just pull it over here. I have a little work to do on it. I'm gonna bring you guys to the floor with me, and we're gonna take the blocking pins out of this project, and I'll tell you all about it. All right, so this project is one that I showed on my last podcast that I had not actually cast on yet. And it has grown tremendously, as you can see. I hadn't even wound the yarn up yet for my last podcast, but this is the Oceanside sweater, and it was a project from Vogue Knitting and the Michelle Obama Vogue. And I decided to make it, but I've done quite a few modifications on the pattern. It was designed to be knit flat, and I'm really not a purl girl. So I have modified it to be knit in the round up to the sleeve separation. And then I knit it flat, but because almost every row of this sweater is a different color, I would just, hey Saucy, I would just always knit on the right side because you're joining a new yarn anyway. If you're going to join a new yarn, you might as well join it on the right side and then not have to purl. So that was my philosophy with this project. And that's what I did. It worked out really well. And now I'm probably to the trickiest part, which is matching the stripes on the sleeves to the body. And the way that the pattern says to do it is to knit the sleeves from the cuff up, but the sleeves in the pattern look really long to me. And because of the stripe sequence, you pretty much have to follow the stripe sequence on the row it tells you to start on if you want to have them line up across the whole body. And obviously, I don't want to knit a project like this that's going to take so long and be so beautiful and then mess it up by doing something wrong with the sleeves. So I am going to knit the sleeves, but I'm going to try to knit them with short rows starting at the top of the shoulder, and it has a cap sleeve. So I would have to pick up across this part of the shoulder before I could join it in the round and then knit down to the wrist. So I hope I'm able to fudge the cap sleeve with the short rows. I haven't ever done short rows like this, but I feel like it's worth taking the risk because I really don't want to sew these sleeves on. And I feel like it's going to be more difficult to match them sewing them together than to just knit them as they go. So that's my plan. I really hope that it works out. But if it doesn't work out, I'm going to just take it out and try a different method. Worst come to worst, I could always just do what the pattern says, but like, why would I just follow the pattern? Yeah. I really wish this pattern was, I won't say better written, because I do not design garment patterns and I'm not interested in designing garment patterns because there's just too many considerations. But also, for people who make it their business to design garment patterns, I feel like this type of design is okay for like maybe like a vintage pattern, but in the modern 2023, I expect patterns to be more, not easier, but I expect them to be more user-friendly rather. And I expect more things to be written in the round when possible. Like there's nothing that was stopping them from writing this pattern in the round up to, you know, the sleeve separation. But for whatever reason, they just decided it was going to be flat. So all of this was all roly-poly previously, and I sprayed it. Well, I pinned it down to these blocking mats and I sprayed it, and now it's nice and flat. So I've got the back here. This is the back, and the back has live stitches across the neckline, and here is the front. And I've got my little mama on here from Whitney Marie Anderson. Isn't she cute? Wait, she's showing her bun. There we go. Isn't she adorable? So my plan of action from here is to seam the shoulder seams this way and then pick up across the top, going back and forth across, matching these stripes on the front and back, going like this until I get to this point. This is an awfully large armhole, I'm thinking too. Now this sweater is oversized, but I don't know. It just, something about this pattern, just something. I can't put my finger on it, but it just feels a little bit, they used all the creativity in picking the colors. They didn't use the creativity for the construction, I'll say. So that's the progress that I have on this sweater. And as I discussed previously, I got my basket up here. My main colors, that's not part of this. My main colors are Passionate's Crackling Skies and my Lola Bean yarn sock blank. And this I wound up and I soaked it to get that crimp out of it before I knit with it. And then this is the Naima Bond Double Dutch color I bought from Miss Pearl. And then in this basket, I have all of my other colors. And now that I've got the stripe sequence going, I don't have to keep up with those little tags that I made. Those things are a pain, let me tell you, because they were always coming out. It just wasn't practical. It did work out for as long as I was using it, but just not like my favorite way to keep up with a bunch of different colors. So yeah, everything's going great. I will give you an update on how I finish this sleeve. I'm going to do the seams here and I'm going to do the collar first because I feel like it's already just looks kind of mangled and raggedy without a collar on it. So I just want to try and get it looking as presentable as I can to help me to want to work on it more. And I think that's everything. That's everything I've been knitting. Everything I've been spinning. What other things are new? I've been working on some therapy supplies I've been developing, I'll say. And yeah, with the school year going, now I just have a little bit less time to dilly-dally. So I got to be more focused. And I'm really happy that you joined me today for this podcast. If you liked this podcast, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You could also share it with some other knitters that you might know might be interested in it. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you for sticking with me through this podcast and for sharing your time with me when I talk about all the things that I love and don't love so much about knitting and my projects. So, thank you. And I will see you in my next podcast. Bye.